Hello, and in the words of our good friend Joshua Wen, let's go! Welcome to another week of Dash Sports. I'm Jasper Kenzo Sundin, a sports writer and former sports editor at the Daily Californian.
I'm Shaylin Singh, football beat reporter for the Daily Cal.
And we are Bear Dash. So let's get this off started. The NFL season starts in less than a week. Cal has both established superstars and really exciting rookies playing professionally. We're going to discuss a few of those Bears and why Cal should actually be considered one of the Pac-12's top breeding grounds for pro talent. First thing on our list, which Cal rookie is going to have the biggest impact in their first year? There were three Cal players drafted. Ashton Davis, Jalen Hawkins, and Evan Weaver were taken in the 2020 NFL draft. A lot of Bears fans are excited for him. Shaylin, who's going to have the biggest impact? Whose name are we going to see a lot?
Yeah, so all three of those guys were phenomenal for Cal for 3+ years. They were part of the culture that turned Cal's defense into a powerhouse under Justin Wilcox. And I think they all have bright NFL futures, but some it'll come faster than others. Ashton Davis has been getting a lot of hype, and deservedly so. His ceiling is just astronomically high. But I'm going to go with Jalen Hawkins as the rookie who's going to make the biggest impact in his first year in the league. Because in terms of impact, Ashton Davis is playing with the Jets, and they have a lot of young players, and they're going to be a little sloppy. But the Falcons have the chance to be a great team. And I'm not just saying that because I'm from Atlanta and I'm a diehard Falcons fan. That's not the reason.
All right, call him unbiased, folks. Let's go.
No, but the Falcons are in win now mode, and they do have talented players on both sides. But for those of you who don't know, I predicted Jalen Hawkins to the Falcons when we could only pick one team. We were talking about future Cal draftees, and we had to pick one team, and I chose the Falcons. And the reason why is because he's the exact type of box safety that Dan Quinn loves in his scheme. For those of you who don't know, Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator for the Seahawks during the LOB years, where they were just unstoppable. And one of those guys was Cam Chancellor, who was the strong safety for the Seahawks. And Dan Quinn has always been looking for a guy to fill that type of role. I'm not saying Jalen Hawkins is Cam Chancellor by any of means, but they're similar type of players. They're physical, very physical, but also have the ability to cover. The Falcons have Keanu Neal, who's one of the best young safeties in the game, ahead of Jalen Hawkins in the depth chart right now. And Keanu Neal's a beast. He had over 220 combined tackles his first 2 years in the league, was a Pro Bowler, but he tore his ACL 2 years ago, and last year he tore his Achilles. So he's back and healthy now, but I just think the potential of Jalen Hawkins getting a lot of playing time in the Falcons defense is extremely high. He has the same makeup as Keanu Neal pretty much. They're both very hard hitters. Dan Quinn said Jalen Hawkins already has the ability to cover tight ends. And one thing Falcons head coach said is that Jalen is much stronger than he remembered him being at Cal, which is like, Jalen Hawkins is getting stronger and more physical.
That's frightening.
That's scary. But he's a ball hawk. He had 6 interceptions, which led the Pac-12 in 2018, 10 over his career. And 2 of the 3 safeties above Hawkins in the depth chart right now are going to be free agents this upcoming year. So I could really see the Falcons playing Hawkins just to get him experience on the field and seeing if they can save some money and go with him on his rookie contract after this season.
Yeah. You talked about Ashton Davis. I'm going to talk about him a little more. I can see Davis profiting from the same type of situation. Marcus May, who's the Jets' best safety right now, he's going to be starting on that team. He's also in a contract year, and we don't know if he's going to be a New York Jet next season. There's a lot up in the air. We'll see how that goes. But Davis could be in line for the same type of deal. We could see both these players benefit by being on rookie contracts, by being talented players that get playing time, so they'll become part of the future. But beyond that, Davis is Jalen Hawkins is a great player, super physical, great technician, has great eyes on the field, a lot of interceptions. Ashton Davis is there for a lot of different reasons. Great athlete.
He's that with ridiculous speed. That's what Ashton Davis is.
It's insane.
All those things plus, track athlete speed.
I mean, you can race the guy while he's running hurdles, and he'll beat you. He will. I mean, he's an athlete in every sense of the word. Um, but the Jets just traded Jamal Adams, who a star safety, but he's no longer on the roster, and that just opens possibilities. You said the Jets aren't a team that's going to be super successful, and like, yeah, we don't know, but the Jets are very much in a rebuilding stage. Defensive coordinator Greg Williams has had rave reviews for Davis in camp. He could get a lot of time just because the Jets need to do something different. They need to shake it up. They need playmakers, and Davis is explosive no matter where he is on the field. He could be
Yeah,
playing.
he's been getting hyped up a
Special
lot.
teams.
I don't follow any Jets accounts by any means, not even close. But he's popping up on my feed, not by Cal people in the Cal atmosphere. He's popping up like on NFL accounts that are tweeting about him during practice and during camp because he's been playing in a bunch of different positions and he's had a ton of picks during camp, like highlight reel picks.
Yeah,
And I agree
that's
that
important.
his potential's through the roof. Do you think there's any chance he starts by the end of the year?
That depends on a lot. That depends on injuries. That depends on who shows up. I have heard that coaches like how he looks in camp. That he actually has a chance to win one of those starting safety roles. He's helped by the fact that he can play either free safety or strong safety. That's going to go a long way. And that's again, someone gets injured, he's going to get on the field. I do think he's going to get on the field a lot for special teams. We talked about his speed. That's something you need on special teams. I mean, he's an impact.
Oh, yeah. No, he's ridiculous on special teams because of his speed. He's going to be a kick returner probably off the bat. I don't know who else they have in terms of kick returners as if he's going to start or not, but he did that a lot for Cal and he clearly has the speed to do it. Jalen Hawkins is going to be in the same position. We'll probably have a decent special teams role. And that brings us to the other Cal drafted player, Evan Weaver.
Can't forget about this man.
Yeah, because it's weird. It honestly is weird because Evan Weaver was pretty indisputably the best Cal defender last season. Like I think over Ashton Davis and Jalen Hawkins, he was number one. He led the nation in tackles by a mile. And he was just whenever Cal needed a tackle, Evan Weaver was there. He was at the bottom of the pile every time.
Yeah, I mean, forget Cal. Cal is a talented defense. Evan Weaver was indisputably the best defender in the Pac-12. He was everywhere. He was on top of everything. An All-American. He had an amazing senior season, and he slid down draft boards during the draft. It was surprise. Well, we're not going to say it was surprising. Scouts had said a lot of things, but to see him fall to the sixth round was a shock.
Yeah, sixth rounder. He has all the stats, all the production. But the main knock on him was his athleticism. He's not great in space in terms of his speed and agility. So a lot of times had trouble covering one-on-one, especially against running backs. He would just kind of get his ankle shaken a lot. But that's not what his role was at Cal. And I think with the Arizona Cardinals, where he got drafted, that's not going to be his role either. He's going to start as a special teams guy. From what I've seen, he should make the roster. I don't think he's one of the bubble guys that's 50-50. There's a slight chance that if some of the Cardinals really tried to upgrade their inside linebacker position this season, so there's a slight chance that if he's had a terrible camp, I think there's a slight chance he won't make the roster. But I think that he's gonna be on the team, and I don't know how many snaps he'll get this season. Might not be that many, but he's the type of guy. And I think all three of these rookies really are harmed by the fact that there were no preseason games this season. Because
yeah, absolutely,
that's rookie's time to shine. And if you're talking about a guy like Evan Weaver, he lets his play do the talking. I mean, he talks a lot himself. He's a very confident guy, but he's not the type of player who's going to shine in drills and shine in cone drills or one-on-one drills during practice. He's someone who needs to get on the field, and you will see how good of a player he is. And the coaches haven't had a chance to see how he plays against NFL players. So that definitely goes against him.
Weaver's also, if there's one thing we know about him, he's passionate, he's a hard worker, and all these guys are. All these guys have earned their spots. They weren't headline recruits coming out of high school. Davis was a walk-on. Weaver was a 3-star recruit, and now they're in the NFL. And bet all the money you got that they're going to do their best to stay there. I mean, they work hard.
Oh, I'll say it right now. All three of these guys are going to be starters eventually in their career. I know Evan Weaver has a lot of physical limitations that a lot of people may say prevent him from doing so, but watching him play in person, he just finds he has such a nose for the football, and he will instantly shut down running backs like on the ground. I don't know if he'll be a 3-down guy. He has to really, really improve his coverage skills if he wants to do that. But I think he could be a 1st and 2nd down guy who can change the game against the run.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would not be surprised if all three of these guys ended up being starters. I will say, though, I mentioned Davis earlier. He's my answer. He will have the biggest impact, and he's the one who's most likely to be a star. It's his speed, it's his intelligence. Jalen Hawkins and Evan Weaver, I'm sure they're going to work hard. They're in good systems. They're with good coaches, and they're guys who have made themselves successful. All of these guys are, but Davis is going to be a superstar. Davis is an amazing player. He's in the right situation in New York. He's going to get playing time this season. He could start this season, and he's going to turn that into superstar status. He's going to be amazing.
He has all-pro written all over him.
Absolutely. That's steal in the 3rd round, in any way you look at it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on. We've talked a lot about rookies here. We're going to talk a little bit about some older alumni, some Cal veterans. Shaylin, which Cal veteran is going to have the best season? Cal currently has 24 players in the NFL. A lot of these guys are superstars. They're household names. But who's going to show up in 2020?
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how many elite players Cal has in the NFL, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a few minutes.
Yes, we will.
There's some quality Cal alumni in the NFL, but Cam Jordan is the best out of all of them at the moment because he is an absolute game changer for the Saints on their defensive line. I said it earlier, I'm a Falcons fan, and I have watched him beat up Matt Ryan way too many times. He's just there. You can't stop him. No matter how good of a tackle you have, you're not going to stop him. He had 15.5 sacks last season, and he has 40.5 over the past 3 seasons. So it's not the case where he's a guy who was a one-hit wonder or he's inconsistent. He's one of the best edge defenders in the league week in and week out. I have a fact for you. The list of players who finished top 10 in 2019 in tackles for loss, and quarterback hits is Cameron Jordan. That's it. That's the entire list.
A list of one.
Yeah, and his peers know it. The NFL Top 100, which is voted on by the players, Cameron Jordan came in at number 3 in the league, or not number 3. That would be insane. Number 23 in the league for 2020. And the Saints have a great defense around him. They're really building, and he's going to be, if the Saints make a run at the Super Bowl, he's going to be one of the main reasons why. He can beat you with speed. He can beat you with power. He's a future Hall of Famer. That's all there is.
Yeah, and you guys got to remember, this is a Falcons fan right here talking about a Saints player. So
this doesn't happen often. I will avoid giving the Saints credit whenever I can, but Cameron Jordan is that good, and I don't like when the Falcons play against him. I don't think any offense does, but he's getting up there in age too. I think he's low 30s, maybe 31 or something, but he definitely has a few good years left in the tank. Absolutely. I expect to see him on one of the all-pro teams again this season.
Absolutely. Look, Cameron Jordan's an amazing player. His sack totals have only risen the last couple of seasons. You talk about him getting old, but he's certainly not getting worse. The man's been phenomenal. For me, though, you talk about best seasons. Cal has a lot of great O-linemen in the league, a lot of great O-linemen alumni. Mitchell Schwartz just won a Super Bowl. Patrick McCarry played a huge role as a second-string center for the Ravens. You got to have guys like Alex Mack on the Falcons who made the NFL All-Decade team. I think these guys, it's going to be an O-lineman from Cal who has the best alumni season. And I'm going to give you a reason for that. For me, like having a great season, there's individual performance, but it's also about the team. Football is a team sport. The goal is to win a championship. And I think Mitchell Schwartz and Patrick McCarry are best positioned to help their teams win championships. That Mitchell Schwartz plays for the Chiefs. McCarry, like I said, those are Super Bowl contenders. Those are probably the two best teams in the AFC, and those are two teams that could be playing and should be playing for a Super Bowl. So for me, those guys are the top players to look out for, the top former Bears to look out for this season.
Yeah, Mitchell Schwartz is an absolute beast. I mean, I believe he also made the All-Decade team.
I think Alex Mack did.
Did they not both? I don't know. But either way, both of those guys have big futures. Patrick McCarry was undrafted out of Cal, and when the Ravens starting center got injured last year, Patrick McCarry stepped in, and his first game was against Aaron Donald, who's by far the best player in the NFL, regardless of position. And that was one of Aaron Donald's worst games of the season. I think his only stat was one assisted tackle in Patrick McCarry's first game playing as a center in the NFL. And I don't think he's actually even going to start this season because the Ravens really like the center that they're putting back in. But McCarry can play pretty much anywhere on the line. So it'll be interesting to see if the Ravens and Lamar Jackson and that exhilarating offense is going to make use of him this season.
Absolutely. Those two teams, the Ravens and the Chiefs, with Schwartz and McCarry starting last season, were both in the top 10 in terms of lowest sack rates. Schwartz and McCarry are both going to be helped by the fact that should they play, their quarterbacks are extremely mobile. Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson don't take sacks easily, particularly Lamar Jackson. I mean, try tackling that man in the backfield. I dare you. But those guys they're helped by their quarterbacks, they're helped by their teams, and they're key parts of those teams. And I think for me, that's what does it. That's why those guys. That's why Schwartz or McCarry. That's why an O lineman is going to have a great season.
Yeah, we both agree that I think football's won in the trenches. You know, we're picking the D line and the O line when we pass up on a lot of options that are probably more household names to people. Aaron Rodgers comes to mind, Jared Goff, guys like Keenan Allen. What about them? You don't have to go through all three of them. Those are, if you asked a random football fan on the street who's the best Cal alumni in the NFL, they would probably say one of those three guys. Aaron Rodgers is the most likely answer. What about Rodgers this season are you concerned to you?
Look, Rodgers is an undisputed great. For me, he's the best quarterback who's ever played the game. People talk about Tom Brady.
Wow.
I feel like Rodgers is better. And yeah, I go to Cal. You can at me all you want. My Twitter's right here. Come for it. But for me, Rodgers did not get the help he needed in the offseason. And this is something people talk about the draft. Like Green Bay had a good pick, great wide receiver class, and they took another quarterback, which is you got to plan for the future. I respect that from a franchise perspective, but that doesn't help Rodgers.
The one thing the Packers needed to do this offseason was give Aaron Rodgers new weapons, and they did nothing. They signed Devin Funchess, who was pretty good, but he opted out due to COVID, so there goes that. I think their starting receivers are Alan Lazard and Valdez Scantling, who are mediocre at best, and their O-line's a mess. There's injuries all over the place. So the Packers are not going 13-3 this year. Their defense is rising, but Aaron Rodgers can only carry so much weight.
Someone's got to catch the passes.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And Jared Goff, for me, he had a fantastic 2018 season, led the Rams to a Super Bowl. But for me, I haven't seen enough with this current Rams team that makes me excited about Goff getting back to that level. I think he'll bounce back from his pretty poor last season, but I just don't think he's going to get back to the 2018 level. He's still a good quarterback. He's a great quarterback, but until he also has to show that he can make use of the weapons around him too.
Yeah. And the thing for a lot of this, Jared Goff and Keenan Allen, who we haven't talked about as much, I mean, those guys are both playing in really talented divisions. I mean, Jared Goff is going to be going against the Seahawks and the Niners twice each. And that's insane. Those are great teams. The Ravens are not going to be playing the same type of quality opponents than their division. And the Chiefs will be playing the Chargers, but they're also the Chiefs. Unless you were like under a rock the last couple of years, the Chiefs are undisputed, one of the best teams in the league, but the best team in the league right now. So I think that also hurts guys like Aaron Rodgers, Keenan Allen, Jared Goff, who I'm sure will have phenomenal seasons. They'll be good, especially Rodgers. He always is. But there will be a Cal player playing in the Super Bowl this year. I would put money on that.
There's been a Cal player playing in the Super Bowl 19 out of the past 20 seasons. So I would say the likelihood is pretty high.
Yeah. And speaking of Cal players playing well in the NFL, that takes us to our final topic for today. Cal, in my opinion, in the opinion of a lot of Cal fans, is underrated as a producer of NFL talent. Cal's combined 2020 NFL salary cap hit is the number one out of all Pac-12 programs. They produce tons of star talent. We just went over a couple of them. They produce talent that are going to become star players in the future. But Cal's underrated. Shaylin, why is Cal underrated? Why don't people give Cal the credit they deserve?
Well, the reason that Cal doesn't get the credit it deserves is because of their production in terms of wins in college. They haven't been to a Rose Bowl since 1958. It's a shame to say. And only 11 different Cal players have ever finished in the top 10 for Heisman voting. Those reasons alone are why Cal doesn't get attention in the NFL. That may be counterintuitive, but when colleges and college athletes get attention while they're in college, that carries over to the NFL. And if Cal student athletes aren't getting national attention while they're in college, that's not going to carry over to the NFL. A lot of people don't know that Aaron Rodgers or Marshawn Lynch or Deshaun Jackson, all these guys went to Cal because Cal wasn't like nationally relevant. I mean, even if they were, casual fans don't count like being ranked 15th in the nation as like relevant. If you're not like in Alabama or Florida or Georgia or Notre Dame, Clemson, you're not going to be well known in the NFL, and you're not going to get the credit you deserve. What's your take on why Cal's underrated? Because I can go in on how absurd people are in terms of the credit they give to Cal.
Yeah, I think there are tons of stats you could look at. There are 24 Cal players in the NFL. We mentioned that already. 3 of those made the Pro Bowl last season. There's only one Pac-12 school that had more players in the Pro Bowl. It was a certain school across the bay. But they have 35. This unnamed school has 35 total players in the NFL. And so if you're looking at like sort of ratios, 3 out of your 24 players in the NFL are making the Pro Bowl. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's a legitimate percentage of Cal players making it.
In 2019, Cal had 5 Pro Bowlers, and that was the most out of any college in the nation. Cal, I think SportsCenter and Bleacher Report tweeted that, and everyone was just like, what? Because you expect Alabama, you expect all those schools I just listed, but to see Cal have the most Pro Bowlers out of any college in the nation, that just, for me, all of this boils down to quality over quantity. Because other schools can say, oh, we have 50, 60 players in the NFL, but Cal only has 20, 24, 25 players in the NFL, and yet 10 of them are like elite players.
Yeah. And we can go around all day asking why. I think it's a deeper reason. There's a bias against Cal players in the NFL. You look at how Cal players are drafted. We talked about Weaver sliding down draft boards. Davis could have definitely been drafted higher. You think about Aaron Rodgers, who slid down in the first round. You think about Keenan Allen, who also slid down draft boards. Cal players are underrated, and they're underrated in the draft. People will look at them and let them go. A lot of great Cal players go undrafted. Lorenzo Alexander, who's one of the best defenders in the league for a long time, undrafted. Patrick McCarry, who just was starting center on a Super Bowl caliber team, undrafted. And you got to think, like, NFL teams are looking at Cal players and they're making a choice not to give these guys the looks and attention they deserve. And we talked about some Cal rookies breaking out this season. It's just it's the latest sort of step in that process. I mean, these guys are going to be good players, and people just aren't giving them the looks they deserve.
Yeah, when Cal players, though, when they come to the NFL, their NFL teams are getting a great product. Cal prepares their athletes exceptionally well for the league, and when they get to the league, they get paid. So I have a list of the top 10 colleges in terms of career earnings. So career earnings in the NFL. And the schools I want to list off are, this is in order: Alabama 1, UGA 2. Those are probably people's guesses, right? Anyone could guess that. Alabama and UGA being the two top colleges. Let's skip one now, and then we'll go after that: LSU, Miami, Florida, Ohio State, Michigan, Oklahoma, Florida State, and then USC's down there at 11th. Number 3 on that list is the University of California, Berkeley. And somehow that just blows by everyone's mind. Alabama, career earnings in the NFL for active players. Keep in mind, this is active players. $762 million for 74 active players. Cal only has 24 active players, and they're at $677 million. So less than $100 million between them, and they have a third of the amount of players Alabama has. So Cal players get paid. It's that simple. There's so many Cal players who are among the best at their position, and they get paid. And it's not just now either. You talk about a decade or two ago: Tony Gonzalez, Marshawn Lynch, Deshaun Jackson, Aaron Rodgers during his prime, if you don't consider him in his prime anymore. They were all three.
Still going, yeah.
He's still going, but those were all 3 players who were considered top 3 at their position, undisputably. But yeah, it's quality over quantity. It's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talk a lot. Again, people underrate, or people have a tendency to overrate college football success. Like USC has, I don't know how many Heisman winners, 13 or something. Yeah, you just read off that list of earnings. How does that translate to the NFL? I think USC had 1 Pro Bowler last year. It's great to succeed at the college level, and I mean, ultimately, that's what a lot of these episodes are going to be about. But I mean, the buck stops somewhere. Cal produces NFL talent. It produces players who go on to make it big. They go on to become household names. There's a reason you've heard of the guys we're talking about. It's because they're talented.
And there's so many that we haven't even listed. You talk about guys like Marvin Jones, or rising stars like you talked about, Patrick Laird. Dolphins fans love Patrick Laird. He was also a guy who was undrafted, but he's a guy. He might never be a starting running back in the league, but he's going to be a contributor, and he can do it all out of the backfield. And these are just guys no one hears about because, like you said, there's a bias against Cal for whatever reason. But look at the facts. I'm telling you, look at the facts. Cal is, if not the best, they're among the best in the Pac-12 at producing NFL talent. It's a fact.
I would just straight up say they're the best. How many other Aaron Rodgers and Cameron Jordans do you see out there? I mean, Cal produces the best NFL talent, and I don't know. I defy anyone to debate that. Like, who else have you got? USC produces plenty of Heisman candidates, but I can count a ton of those who are just busts, guys who don't pan out, guys who never have that type of NFL career that folks like Aaron Rodgers have. That's all the time we have left, folks. If you think your school does produce more NFL talent than Cal, if you're a Pac-12 fan who's feeling the heat, please hit up our Twitters right here. If you have any questions that weren't answered, feel free to, again, hit up our Twitters. You can find us at Dash Sports TV on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Find more content on our website. Shaylin and I both write for the Daily Californian, so you can find us there as well. We cover Cal football. We write columns. We have a good time. But in the words of our other friend, Justice De Los Santos, stay hydrated, and we'll see you next week.